All right. So, hello, everyone. This is really the first session. The first meeting last Monday was just an introductory phase. So, we're about to get into it today. And this is the 2024 Mentorship Program, October. And in this particular round of mentorship, we're going to focus specifically on one project that we have. There will be others throughout the process, but we have one that we're starting right now, and this is going to be a good live session for us to see while we build the live. So let me go ahead and share the screen so we can get started on this. Everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We're going to take it back. Um, so there's a few things that I wanted to discuss. First thing, we came out with a curriculum. And in this curriculum, we discussed what we would do. And that was in the video that we did last time, and I shared it to everyone. So you'll have it. In this curriculum, I'm not going to go over it like that, but just like a cursory review. Really, I'm starting out with right here, Module 2, which discusses project planning and management. Now, we're going to cover all the modules in this session before we're done with this. And I'm looking at about a 6 month, time frame to go from beginning to end. All right. So, but in this particular instance, I want to discuss the construction project life cycle from concept to completion. And one thing that I wanted to definitely discuss was, from the beginning. So let's say we have a lot. You're looking for land, you found land, you want to buy the land. What do you do? What's one of the steps you do? And believe it or not, I know y'all been through some of this, but a lot of people don't know this. And I just received a call this week from someone who was asking me something similar. What should they do? And one of the first things I always say is, or one of the first things I always do, I find the land, I like it. Well, I need to get a survey. I need to get a survey to see exactly what it is that I'm buying, what the land looks like. Okay. So right now, if you're looking at this is the land. I've been sending y'all videos, all since last week in the group chat and individually, just sending videos so y'all can see what we started doing in terms of the grading, clearing, the boundaries of the house that was staked out. I think in another session, I'm gonna just bring all those videos together so it can be an easier discussion. But the first thing we did was we had to order an appraisal, not appraisal, sorry. We had to order a survey of the land so that once again we know what we're buying, right? We're right here on Lake Vista Circle. This is the basement lot. The company that I like using a lot is Civil Survey. The gentleman is real good, Mr. Bill Eckert, very helpful. He even offered to join us on one of our sessions if we have questions that may be real detailed that we may need to answer. He's a little bit busy, but later on, he said he's willing to come on board and join our 7 o'clock session and, tune in for questions. So if y'all have questions for that, let me know. If y'all want to really talk to the survey engineer, let me know. But for now, I can definitely answer the questions that, of what we have. So Bill Urquhart, first thing he did was go and get the survey. And I asked him a series of questions about that. Because in this survey, when you get this survey done, I mentioned to you that somebody asked me about what to do with a survey, and they called around different survey companies. And what they were told, what the question they were asked was, do you want us to just stake it out, or do you want it to be drawn out? So be mindful when you're getting a survey from a company. because one of the things that they're going to be asking you is exactly that question. You know, do you want to stake it out or do you want to draw it out? You know, if you're doing a fence at your house, you want to know your boundaries. You may not necessarily need a full drawn out topography of your survey of your land. You may just need the corners, right? So if all you need is the corners of your survey, the boundaries of your house, then they will come out what they will call meet and bounds. They will come out and go to the corners, the edges of your house, your land. They'll go right here, right here. Let me see that. They'll be right here. They'll go to the back, right there. They'll come across the back. So you see where your survey is. This is our detention pond is there. They'll come back across and they'll come all the way to the other corner. And then you have like the four corners of your lot. So once we got the survey, there were some things on here that you will need to realize. And we're going to go to the next screen so you can see it. But some of the things you see on the survey will be trees. In this case, these are pine trees. And let me see here. The legend should show it actually. These are pine trees. Let me blow it up a little bit. Everybody see that, right? Are y'all there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. I want to see that. So, okay, these are pine trees, 10-inch pine trees, 12-inch pine trees. So he locates all the pine trees. There were a lot of bushes and things here too, but he doesn't care about that. He's looking for the pine trees. Okay. Um, One thing you will notice is these lines right here. Right? These lines, these little dotted lines that y'all see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, those dotted lines are what they call contour lines. Those are your contour lines. And they're significant because it shows you the depth of your, how deep or how low your property is. Whether high or low, it's the elevation of what your property looks like. So for
So it
instance,
shows going up and down.
go ahead.
No, it's just showing going up and down the level of the land.
Yes, it's showing the level of the land. So whether your land is increasing or decreasing, if you've never been to the land before, you know, let's say someone sent you a piece of land on the internet and then you ordered a survey and it came to you. You can use this survey to decipher to get a visual of what the land actually looks like in terms of how it lays, you know, how deep it is. Is it sloping down? Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it leaning to the side? You know, many times we don't know that, you know. So what we do is when you look at this thing in his general notes, he talk about the equipment that he used. He talks about the field data upon which the survey is based was collected from multiple control points and was not adjusted. Now he discussed that with me, right? This survey has been calculated for closure and is found to be accurate to within 1 foot in 57,200 feet. That's pretty accurate. Okay. Now he mentioned that a portion of this property is located in a special flood area. So, but we bypassed that because at one point this property was in a flood area. Okay. And of course, he talks about the utilities are based upon an above ground field survey. The actual utility location should be field verified by the contractor before any construction begins. This became very relevant for us, especially for me in this project. Okay. Um, Now, this survey was prepared without benefit of a title report, which may reveal additional conveyances, easements, or rights of way not shown hereof. Now, he's giving you all those disclaimers, and it's important to know that. Your legend, it talks about POB, point of beginning, IPS, iron pin set, IPF, iron pin found. Okay, CMF, concrete monument found. So when you go through these, utility pole, light pole, flagpole, sanitary sewer manhole, all these things, fire hydrant, all these things are the legend. So that when you look at the survey, you get an idea of what you're looking at. Okay. So for instance, over here, he has half-inch rebound found. Okay. So this would be the same as the IPF. Okay. He found the rebar, the rebar. The rebar marks the corner or the pin for where your property starts. Sometimes when you have a legal description on a property, it describes the property and it says, it will tell you. I wish I had one to pull up for you, but we will do that in the next sessions. The Your actual warranty deed on your property will have an exhibit that describes your property, and it will tell you, okay, starting from iron pin here and then going easterly or westerly or north from the boundary, it describes how far it goes, right? So in this survey, we have the rebar for the pin corner. We have the other one, we're right here, for another pin corner. So this is one rebar. This shows one side of your property on your right side if you're looking at it from the front of the street. This shows the other part of your property. So from the front of the house, from the front of the land, we have all this distance. You're following me, right? We
Yeah.
found
So the rebar is considered like the stake.
the rebar is actually the pin that shows you that's where your boundary starts or ends.
Okay, that has nothing to do with them staking it.
Yes and no. Because when they went to stake the house, they staked the house. They didn't stake the they did stake the property corner. But
So they
sometimes,
stake it with wood instead of rebar.
okay, so good question or good comment. The rebar is already there. It was there when they developed the subdivision to mark the corner of the lot. So when they come to stake it, like me and you, if we walk out there, we probably won't see this unless we have a metal detector. So the survey company goes out with a metal detector, and if they look based on whatever is in the reports, they will go based on the reports. They'll cross-reference it with some other reports, especially if there's a legal description, and they'll go and find it. And then when they find it, they will put the stake there. The stake just pinpoint
Okay.
where this pin is.
Okay. So
Um,
it's not something the rebar is not something that you can most of the time you won't even see it.
Most of the time, the rebar is usually buried, like you should be able to see it, and it's usually like 18 inches into the ground, sometimes a little more. But when there's when there's overbrush and bushes and trees, chances are you won't see it unless you go there with a metal detector and try to locate it.
Yeah.
So their job is to go and locate it for you. So they'll put the stakes there so you'll see it. Okay, this is the corner. This is your property corner, right? So in the video that I sent out, you saw where they were staked out with the yellow, with the pink ribbons. So,
Hmm.
let's say, for instance, that this wasn't here. Let's say somehow somebody was doing some excavation and dug this up. Well, they can do one of two things. They can go to the property next door and go and locate that property's pin, go through the legal description to see how far it is to the next property pin, where this should be, they'll measure it, right? And then let's say they don't locate this. Well, in the legal description, which will be in your warranty deed on your exhibit, when it describes your property, it's going to tell you how wide your property is. It's going to tell you how wide it is. So over here, this right here is your dimensions of how wide your property is. You have, forget the degrees and minutes, right? You have right here, you have 19 degrees, 24 minutes, 45 seconds. That's just, it's not quite a GPS, but that's just like your geography of your location, right? That they have based on the subdivision. But what you have more importantly after that is 85.46 feet. This represents feet, of course. I think y'all know that, right? The the apostrophe that's here at the end is 85.46 feet. So if I know this pin that we're looking at right here, this rebar right here is here. If I go 85.46 feet, I should arrive at this pin. Y'all follow?
Gotcha.
So this is how wide your property line is from the front. So from the front, from here to here, you have about 85 feet. That's a decent size. Okay. Now, from this pin, going back. So in the video, you'll see there's a pin here. There's they'll put a stake here. They'll put another stake here, another stake there, and another stake there. And this is very important because the neighbor, after we put our stakes there, we found out the neighbor was encroaching, probably like 10 feet into our land. She had nice grass over here, everything, but it's not her property. So she saw real quick that, oh, this is not my property. Okay, well, if she had a survey done properly, she would know that she was on our property. But now she knows it's fine. So we've staked it. So now if you go to the site from here to here, you'll see where our property has been staked with our pin. So back here, there's another rebar, which locates the back of the property. So from this side, now mind you, if you've never been to the site, you should be able to see and know how big your property is. You're like, okay, my property is about 85 feet wide. Okay, cool. And then from here, how far back are we going? Well, I'm going to ask y'all this to tell me, because if I go from this pin going back to the back of my property line, can y'all tell me how far back it's supposed to be? How far back is my property? Can y'all see that?
It's 22.
Anybody?
22
22?
feet. Yeah.
Okay, at least it
Nah,
says
I can.
22 feet. Sosa,
I can't. I can't really read it, but I think it is
hold
that
on.
115.
Let me blow it up some more. I'm about to ask Sosa next, our new student, before okay, Sosa.
Yeah. Say 115.6 feet. Can
Y'all
barely
see
see.
that?
Yeah,
Y'all
that's
see that?
it. Yep.
All right, so Sosa says it's 115. Sosa's saying from here to here, going back, is 115.96.
Oh, you said how big is the entire lot, or how back do you have to put the house?
Okay, so you were talking about something else. Right now, we're not even talking about the house yet. So we're talking about the boundary of your property. Based on this survey, you know you're about 85 feet wide in the front. from this left side going back, how far back is this?
Okay, so yeah, it's 40 foot wide and it's 115 feet long.
Okay, so it's not 40 feet wide.
Oh, what's that 40? What's that
That's
apostrophe
the
for? It means
degree.
yards?
That's
That's
the
the degree of the coordinates, the um the
so
GPS coordinate.
right. So now it's not quite GPS because I spoke to the engineer about that. He said GPS is based on a different model, but it is a coordinate based on the subdivision on where it is. So for instance, let's talk GPS. If we had GPS, you could
So
put
it's not
in
a geography coordinates.
it's a coordinate, but it's subject to that subdivision. It's not
Okay.
it's not a global GPS. So for instance, you could take a location in Atlanta or in New York or wherever, and you could actually put in the degrees, north 48 degrees, 40 minutes, 0 1 seconds west. And then you could also have another location
With the same thing.
with a different GPS, and you could actually get to the intersection point, right? So this right here, it's not a GPS where you can find a location in a city, but for the subdivision, it is a location where you can find this land. You understand that? I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
it's more on a partial. It's more on that partial ID, right?
yes, it's more for this parcel of land, this huge subdivision. If you put in these coordinates, every house has their own coordinates. You can find your bearings based on the degrees. So based on that, you can disregard the 48 degrees, 40 feet. I mean 48 degrees, 40 minutes, and 0 1 seconds west. That's what this is. That's what this is. You can disregard that though. All you really care about is this number at the end,
I'll go back.
115.96 feet. Everybody follow?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so you see it now, right, Elisa? So we just care about this
Mhm.
part. So with that said, we know how far back it is. So we're about 85 feet in the front, 115 feet in the back, almost 116 in the back on the left side. So it's a pretty decent sized lot. And then when you get to the other side of the lot, it's even longer. Now it looks longer already, you see, because this is the other corner of
152.
the lot right here, going all the
152.5.
way back to here. You see what that number is?
Mm.
Yeah, 152.5.
Right. So that's our boundaries of our lot. We go way back 152.50 feet here, you know, and now we need to see the backside, you know. So based on this, we should also know and see what this back should be. Now he doesn't have it fully on here. It's almost like a trapezoid. Let me see here. So we know we're far back over there. We have the front, we have the sides. I'm looking for where he put that in the back. Here we go. This is the back right here. So the back from here to here. Y'all see the number here? Might be a little small, but
That 110.
yep.
110.71.
110%. So if you're looking at this is your survey of your land. And you know you got some pine trees on here. Now it doesn't mean you're not gonna have a bunch of bushes and stuff. It just means that these are the big trees, you know. And before we go to the next slide, when you get this, I wanted to make sure that we understood how the land is sloping. Now we all know it's a basement lot, But if you didn't know that, how could you figure it out? And right now, we're going to look at those contour lines I was talking about. I was talking about the contour lines. Now, this is the street. Oh, not this, not that one. This is the street that we're on. Okay. We on the street, and I think the next slide will probably give us a better what does it call it? Elevation. But a couple of things we're gonna notice on here. I want to do the contour lines before I get into these other things on here. Okay, there's things going on this site that we need to look at just based on the survey alone. And you have to be aware of that because it may impact your ability to build. And if you don't know these things, you could buy a bad lot. So what are we looking for? Okay, first, I want to look at the contour lines. If you look at this,
Okay.
this is the
Hold
street.
on, hold on for a second. You just
Okay,
said something. You said if you don't look at what, you can end up buying a bad lot.
I said if you don't look at everything that's on the survey, you may end up buying a bad lot. And I'm gonna go over the steps of things in this survey. Like I don't want us to overlook anything. Right? I don't want us to overlook anything. When you get the survey, you need to look at it and know what you're looking at. And then be able to make your decision based on that. There's some things on here that is important to know. There's some things on here that affect why our house will be placed where it's going to be placed on this property. You can't just stick the house in the middle of your property just because you want to. There are things that's going to affect it. There will be easements and other things. So what we're doing right now is going over the few things that we want to look at when we're looking at a survey. One, we looked at how our boundary looks like. So we see what kind of property we have. We know we have some trees over here, some pines trees, between 6 to 8 inches. Some are 10 inches, some are 12 inches. So we have an idea. We have some pine trees on here that most likely we're going to have to remove some. Now, the next thing I want to look at, besides our property line, I wanted to look at our contour lines. And, eventually I'm going to compile this in the notes like a recap that I will send to the group. We're looking at our property, our contour lines. Now, these contour lines, okay, when I spoke to our engineer, I asked him, how do you come up with this contour line? Because look at this. On the street, our elevation, where we standing, the number that has been assigned to it is 786. Y'all see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everybody sees that, right? Elisa, you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Sosa, you see it?
786.
Yeah, you see. Okay. I know Fode, you see it. I know you're on work, so just want to make sure you're seeing that. So, and I know E, you just said you see it. 786 is the number that they assigned. Okay, that's on the street level because this is Lake Vista Circle. We're on the road right here, right? And so, right in front of that road, we're about 786. Well, when we get to here, when we start looking at what's here, when we get to these little areas, the contour lines, you're going to see the numbers start changing. So this is 786. By the time we get here, this line right here is showing up to be 784. I just want to get it to show up on here real quick. Come on, you playing with me? All right, we're gonna go somewhere else. Okay, the contour line over here was 784. I might have to blow up a little bit so y'all can see it. Over here, 783. Over here, 780. So it showed up a little bit. I don't know. It's not staying for me this time, y'all, but unlike the other one, it showed up pretty well. Um, okay, there we go. Thank you. Over here is 782. Y'all see that, right?
Yes.
So what this means is over here is 784. So if I follow this line, I see this is 784.
You just drop 2 feet real quick.
It dropped. And I see this is 782. And I see this is 780. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my street number, my street contour 786, and I'm going to subtract it from this number 784. And that's going to tell me how many feet in difference that it is. So of course, if we're 786 and then we're going down to 784, that means we went where? Up or down?
Going down.
We're going down. So 786 to 784, we just dropped 2 feet from the street to here. If you're standing on the street, this is 2 feet. Well, if you go down a little bit more to here, you're at 782. So if I take 786, which is the street number, and I subtract it from this number, 782, that means the difference is what? 4 feet? That means if I'm standing here on the property, I am 4 feet below the street. Well, if I go a little bit further, I'm at 780. That means if I follow this line all the way through here, I am 780. If I subtract it from the 786 on the street, I am now 6 feet below the street. So it's not over yet. So y'all get the point. It's going down. It's going down. So when we get to here, when we follow this contour from here, going all the way down, this one I believe is at 778. So already from 786, you down at least another 8 feet now. 786 all the way to 778. Now over here, that's this line right here. If I'm standing here on the property, I'm 8 feet down. If I keep going down and keep going down and keep going down, look at this. I'm at 772. So can y'all tell me when I'm standing on the property in the middle down there, over there, I'm at 772. Anybody got a calculator real quick?
That 15 feet?
14.
What was that?
14.
15?
14 feet. If we take 786 and subtract 772, we are 14 feet into the away from the street. So if I'm standing here, I'm 14 feet from the street level. So if you're looking at this survey, you're thinking, okay, this definitely has to be a basement lot because I'm at 14 feet down if I stand here. That's pretty deep for a basement because most basements are going to be 9 or 10 feet high, you know? So you have some decisions to make. So now when you're looking at this, you have an idea. This thing is dropping about 14 feet. That's pretty steep. Okay, well, how does it look further back? If I go way back, this thing is at 770. So at the back of my lot, where my house is going to be towards the back, I have to subtract 786 from the street, from here, all the way to 770 here. That means how many feet now?
16.
16 feet at the back. Elisa, you following? I want to get you caught up with the number. I want to make sure you're there.
Oh, I'm sorry, I had it on mute. I said a little bit.
Okay, so
Hold Hold up. Let me just try to see if I can summarize this and repeat what you're saying.
Yes.
So you're coming up with this number of how far up you are from the street, but I don't see where you're getting those numbers from. I'm assuming these squiggly dotted lines is telling me when the amount changes, right? And so
Correct.
that's
Mhm.
784, 782, 780, right? 778, 776.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those squiggly lines are called contour lines. And believe it or not, the engineer told me he has students who graduated from college and trying to do civil engineer, and they even have a hard time following what contour lines are. Maybe he was joking, but I don't think he was. so so these contour lines, these squiggly lines, yes, that's exactly what their purpose is. They're going through the contour of your land. They're showing you how your land is folding down or sloping or even, going up. So we know that from here, since we know what the street number is right here, when we look down the property, I don't care if it was full of bushes and you couldn't see nothing. If all you saw was a forest of trees and you can't even enter it, these squiggly lines, these contour lines, tells you the story of how the land actually drops. And this helps you make your decision because now you know, okay, this is definitely going to be a basement because the land is dropping all the way down. Okay. So you're just assessing what this survey means. And you're kind of picturing in your mind without being on the site, seeing how the land is laying out. So you know you're going to see some pine trees on here. That's for sure. You know you're going to see the land dropping down. And you know if you was to walk in there with your boots and get to the back of this land, you're going to be 16 feet below the street level. Those are facts that you know of. You know the size of your property, you know how big it is, okay? And now you have an idea of what you're working with. So, as I said, that comes into play. Like when we get into our next discussion, we're going to talk about how we got to the site plan because this is not a site plan. Okay. So the first step we're doing in buying and before we buy the land is we're going to do a survey. And that's what this survey does. This survey is going to tell me what the land looks like. Right.
Okay. But the house has to be built. The house has to be built in the short dotted black lines, right? The short ones, not the long ones.
Right. So we're going to get there next.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to get there next. So the first thing I wanted to look at was locating the property line. So we know how wide, how far back our property is. We know all the dimensions and boundaries of our property. The next thing I wanted to look at was the contour lines, these things, so I can see what my land looks like, which way is falling, which way is sloping. Okay. Now we're going to look at other things, which is exactly what you talked about. I want to know what my setback lines are. So, what are setback lines? Well, it's exactly what it says. It's how far your property, where you're going to build at. Every
That's your
land has its
that's your
boundaries. Go ahead.
that's your buildable area, right?
That's going to be your buildable area, and these are the rules you have to go by. So some places have different setbacks. Some places have this one has 7.5 foot setback from your neighbor. So wherever your property line is, this subdivision, its rules says that when the person developed it, they said that okay, if you're gonna have this land, it's fine. But if you're gonna build on this land, you have to be at least 7.5 feet back from your property line on this side. That's on the side. So we have setbacks. Setbacks are how far away you're gonna be from your property line. So since we discussed what our property lines are and we know how big and wide they are, now we're going to talk about what we really care about. Well, where can I build? So to know where you're gonna build is this dotted line right here. This dotted line is your setback lines. All right. So you have side setbacks, you have front setback, you also have rear setback. And these are not always the same. Just, and you can see right now, the front of your house, if you're going to build, your front of your house has to be at least 22 feet away from where
From
your
the
property
curb.
line is. Say that again.
Oh, that's from the property line, not the curb.
Right. It's from your property line. The curb is going to add additional um, square, additional footage, because the curb actually belongs to this. It's a right of way. The curb is not yours. Although you're going to find out as we go through this process, the city makes us build the curb, like not build, but they make us pour concrete for that curb. You're responsible for that, but it's not yours. They have a right of way, so the city can do whatever they want to do within that distance of here between the curb and your property line. So wherever your pin starts at, all the way to your other pin, the front of your house has to be at least 22 feet setback from the front. When you go to the side of your house, you have to be at least 7.5 feet setback from the side. When you go to this side, is the same thing. You have a 7.5 foot setback from your property line. And then back here, you have a 20-foot setback. Now we're gonna go over these more in detail, but remember, on your final, like your final piece of this project, you're gonna go through all this stuff. We're just gonna give you a survey, site plan. You're gonna break it all down, so you're gonna be able to do all this. So now this little dotted line area, which what Elisa was talking about before, when she was talking about the how many feet you are back. This is what you was looking at, Elisa. So now we're talking about the property setback. So when we look at this, this is the box that we can build in right here. Y'all see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everybody see our buildable area. So I wish I could color it out. Okay, so this is our box right here around the trees and all that. This is what we can build. So knowing that this is our building area, our buildable area, well, why can't I just take my house and slap it dead in the middle? Because it says this is my buildable area, right? So if I ask y'all, if I'm telling you that this is my buildable area, shouldn't I be able to put my house anywhere I want within this area?
It has to be based on the level of the land.
What do you
Ain't
mean
none
by
of it
that?
level. The land ain't none of it level.
Well, it's not level yet. It's sloping. But what I'm saying is, if you're telling me, if this survey is telling me that I can put my house in this box right here,
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't I be able to put my house anywhere in this box?
I guess you could if you're gonna pay for the leveling of the land.
Really? Okay. Let me see if I can go to this. Anybody else want to take a shot at that? Can I
Or
put my house?
you gonna take the trees down, or you can't take the trees down?
You can. So let's say I took all the
Okay.
trees down. Can I put my house anywhere in this buildable area?
The land is not level, so how are you gonna do that?
Let's say that the land is level. Let's say that we went in there and graded it and leveled it.
Uh-huh.
Can I put my house anywhere in this buildable area?
As long as it fits.
Okay, that's a good point. As long as it fit. Anybody else want to say
Inside,
something about that?
as long as inside the set, beyond the setback, yeah.
Okay, so Eric says that. Alicia says that. Um, Sosa, what do you say? Should I be able to put any house in there?
I would say no, but I got no. I would
Why
say
would
no.
you say no?
it got some. It gotta be something done before you take that decision, I guess.
Okay, but
No,
if everything is cleared and we grade it well, I should be able to put my house anywhere in here, right?
yeah, anywhere beyond the setback is a buildable area. So you should be able to build um
In,
where you want
in
to
here,
build
right?
and yeah,
Four day,
within those boundaries.
4 day. Do you agree with that, or you say something else?
Yeah, I mean, as
Okay,
long as the property fits.
it should fit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, keep that in mind. And why I also said that we need to discuss, we need to look at everything, because I'm going to jump to this. We're going to go through this next week, but I want to jump to this right here. This is the house that we're building. This is the footprint of it. Do you notice something? Do you notice that this house is pushed all the way to this side?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't we put it in the middle? We could have.
But where was your driveway gonna
Because
be?
the basement.
No, it doesn't matter. It's why we got
No,
this house right on
if
here.
you kept the trees, if you kept the trees over there on on the far side, and you put the
So if
house
I
on the other side, which is a more
so
clearer area, I mean,
okay.
it kind of made sense why you put it over there.
Well,
If you
y'all
kept
will
the
be
trees on
right.
that side,
Y'all are not 100% wrong, but there's a reason why the house is pushed far out here. And this is why. That's why I asked the question. Because yes, you're right. You should be able to put this house anywhere. You should be able to put it here in the middle so it looks right in the middle. I don't want to be so close to my neighbor, maybe. Maybe I want the house smack dead in the middle. I have a nice, huge lot. But there's a reason why the house is here. So this is all part of understanding the survey when you do the survey. So one thing you're going to look at in the survey that I'm about to show you right now, which affects why the house is pushed closer to that side. If you look at this right here, there is, you see this back here? Do y'all see this piece? I'm going to blow it up for you. I want to make sure y'all can see it because it makes a difference. There's two key factors that affect why our house cannot be put, why our house is pushed over to the other side. One main factor, you see this right here?
it says drain easement.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to know where your drain easement is before you do the house.
Well, the answer to that is you have to know where any easement is on your lot. So when you're looking at your survey, the other thing you're looking for is any easements. You're looking for any easements. After you look for your setbacks, you're looking for any easements. Because the easement means that when there's an easement on your property, it means you cannot build over there.
You
Okay.
can't do it on the easement, and it shows you where exactly where it's at. That's the dotted
Exactly.
line.
Exactly. So there's two things that affect our property. This 25-foot drainage easement. If you follow it all the way here, let's follow it. What's going on with this easement? What's with this easement? Okay. There is a, this is the line of the easement going all the way back. If you follow it and go all the way back, you're going to end
Mhm.
up at our 25-foot easement. And why is that? Well, there's a reason for that. This 25-foot easement, that means that from this line, your property have to be 25 feet away from it. You cannot build within. So although you have a setback already of 7.5 feet, the
You got
easement,
another setback.
the easement trumps that. The easement don't care about your setback. So you're like, yeah, I got a setback of 7.5 feet. I could put my house right here. Well, the easement that you're gonna look for says otherwise. we have a property that I had in Ellenwood. This is Ellenwood too, but Ellenwood, Clayton County. And when the property was built, we were good to go. When the land was developed, we could build anywhere. Well, after the subdivision was built, the county came back and changed the zoning. And there's a lake in the back of that property. So now the county says we have to have a 75-foot buffer or easement, similar concept, from the lake. So now all of a sudden, a property that we could build on is no longer buildable because when you go 75 feet from the lake, it knocks out your buildable area. So these are all things that you have to. So now you have to go and fight for an easement, for you to be able to well, you have to fight for a variance, rather. That's what you call it. When you go to try to, dispute something or get something changed, let's say we didn't like the 7.5 foot setback. Let's say we needed to be 5 feet because of some reason, something that happened. We have to go and get a variance, but we'll discuss that later. Right now, we have an easement, which is, they don't care about our setback. This easement now trumps that. And according
And you
to,
gotta be 25 feet away from it.
it's got to be 25 feet. So the house cannot be in the middle. Remember, we already like, 85 feet in the front? Well, if we go in the middle of that, we're about 45 feet. But if I have 7.5 feet already, I'm at like 38 feet. And then I
And
got
that's and
25 feet.
that also includes the driveway as well.
No, no. A easement, well, actually, your easement does affect your driveway. Yes. Yes. Because I know you can pour concrete up to your property line. Even if you got a setback, you can actually pour your concrete, your driveway. They'll let you pour your driveway up to your property line, even though there's a setback, because your driveway is not considered a permanent structure. So they will let you put concrete up there. But that's the setback. But when you have an easement, they don't want any structure in the easement. So in this case, you have to be 25 feet away.
No, that's what I'm saying. Even the driveway can't be there.
Right. The driveway also has to be away from that. They will approve it if you go through zoning and give them a reason or whatever. But for the most part, no, they won't let you get that. So this is one reason why our property cannot sit where we want to put it, because there's an easement. So now we have to look at it and say, okay, we have a buildable area, true indeed, but now we have to be 25 feet away from there. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing is this right here. Y'all see this? Where's
What's
this?
that?
You see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It says 54 what?
It says 54-inch CMP.
CMP. What is CMP?
So when you don't know what this is, guess what we're gonna do? If you
Go to
don't
the
know what this
legend.
is, what we're gonna do? So there's a legend, right? There's a legend in there's a legend which shows you the time. There's a legend that I'm going to right here. So when you don't know what the survey is saying, when you're not sure what it's saying, you go to the legend. Every survey should have a legend. You look for the legend, and then you're gonna look for CMP. So we're looking. I'm looking through my legend.
Corrugated metal pipe.
Sorry, I pushed that over. What'd you say?
It says corrugated metal pipe.
Corrugated metal pipe. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Right here. Y'all see that? Y'all follow me?
Yes.
CMP. Corrugated metal pipe. Now, if you look on this survey, You see where it's coming, right? You see where the pipe is, the CMP?
Yeah.
It's going across the street. That means it's under the street and it's coming all the way onto our property. And then it's going all the way down our property, straight down. So that's also something that affects, because we can't put a house over there. You know, that pipe has to be free. We cannot build on that. They won't let us. So when you're looking at the survey, you're like, So a corrugated metal pipe. Um, you ever see those? You ever see those shiny metal pipes? Like they're big and round. And when people are building, when there's a lot of construction going on, you see them putting them in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That's what those pipes are, corrugated metal pipes. They're big, round, they're like 3 feet in diameter, sometimes 4 feet. They're very huge. They're meant to carry water. So the reason this is here, remember earlier when we looked at this, I was reading some stuff from here, and they mentioned something about this was part of it was in a flood zone. A portion of this property is located on a special flood area. Y'all remember me reading that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't want to be in a flood area, but this at one point was in a flood area. And this, just FYI, almost cost me a full year. It wasn't the only thing, but I went back and forth with the city because the city wasn't coming out to look at the site. They were going based on their GIS system. And according to their system, they didn't show that this pipe was put in because when this subdivision was first done, they did it in phases. They didn't do this part. So when it rained, water will come from across the street and will rush all the way and flood through here. And then it goes all the way to the back. And then at the property behind it in the back, there was what we call a detention pond.
Yeah. I remember that.
So so that's why this place was in a flood area. So when they came to finally finish this house, this portion of the land, they put a drain in there. They went across the street. They found the low point where the water was coming in, and they put this pipe across the street. And then they brought that pipe under the ground, under the street, and they ran it through the property all the way to the back, and they dump it in a detention pond. Now, you may not know all of that. We know it because we have history with it and we understand. But if you're looking at this for the first time, all these are questions you have to now ask about. What is this? Okay, there's a corrugated pipe. So you know that on your property, you have a pipe going through it. So that's going to affect where you can put your house. You also know that you have a drainage easement. So you're looking at all these things and you're like, I have to be far away from my house. Luckily for us, when you go to here too, at the front of the road, there's another 20-foot drainage easement. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So in front of the house, there's a 20-foot drainage easement. On the side of the house, we have a 25-foot drainage easement. Well, then it makes sense why your setback is 22 feet, because you have to be at least 20 feet from this drainage easement anyway. So when you're 22 feet back from your property line, you're covering that 20 feet that you need to be away from this drainage easement. So all that is that the subdivision has pipes running through it, which is carrying water. So water's coming through here from other places in the subdivision. And when it gets to this corner, it's turning. This drainage easement is coming and it's turning and tapping into this easement. and it's going. So water's flowing down in front of the street. All this is underground. You don't see it, and then it's going that way to the back. So
So
go ahead.
for the easements are the setbacks from the easement a standard, or the subdivision determines, like, if you're in a smaller subdivision, it might be 15 feet.
Right. So the subdivision, when they first design it, they know where they're going to run their drains and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
they'll usually set the setbacks to accommodate that. So usually everybody will have similar setbacks in the same subdivision. 22 feet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not just a standard. It's every subdivision has its own.
Yes,
Um.
it is. Yes, it is. Because if you're in a place that has like very small space, then
Hmm.
your setback will be different. There's places that have 5 foot setback, you know.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. That's
Yes. So for instance, one of the properties in East Point, they have 5 foot setback. Had to get a variance on one. So is the thing is that, to answer your question, yes, depending on the subdivision you're in or wherever your land is, the setback will be different.
so. So to get that information, would you get it from the survey, or you would
Absolutely.
get that?
So your survey is supposed to come with that, or you have to ask, right? Just like I told you, somebody called me and they were like, "Hey, the survey is they're saying, do I want to stake it or do I want to draw it?" Well, the reason
Hmm.
I use Bill is because he does all this for me. He will give me my survey, but he will also give me my setbacks as well. And some people you have
So
to
this is a
explicitly ask for it.
this is not just staking it. Is him drawing everything out, right?
That's right. That's right. So it
So
costs more.
staking it. So 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 if you was a call to just say, hey, I just wanted to stake it, they just gonna throw some stakes out there, and then you got to figure everything else out.
Exactly. Like I was saying, what if you just want to put up a fence, right? You don't need all this to do a fence. You just want to know your boundaries. So you don't want to pay a whole lot of money for all of this when all you're trying to do is do your fence. So at that point, you just only need to know your boundaries. That's all. You don't need all that.
But then you're not doing your whole due diligence, because like the CMP, you wouldn't know what that is if they just staked it out.
You wouldn't. And that's my point in saying that when you're going to build a house, you have to ask for you want a survey with topography. The topography will give you your trees, your contour lines. They should give you all these things because a true surveyor, they're engineers. They have to stamp it. They have to
Hmm.
stamp it. Okay. And they stand by this. And I will give you a quick story before we end up, because we're going to continue this again our next session. Like I said, we got 6 months of this. We're going to go detailed and ask more questions. And hopefully next time we come back, you have more questions. But you see how this pipe is right here?
Hmm.
I knew someone who had a survey like this, and he had a pipe smack dead in the middle, a CMP pipe running smack dead in the middle of his land. And so he knew he couldn't build unless he goes and get a variance, or unless he goes to remove, like he has to go to the city and get a way to move that pipe around the property just to allow him to be able to build. So what did he do? He didn't want them headaches. He went and got into some editing software and wiped out all the CMP pipe and then presented the map like this and sold it to somebody, and the person bought it. And the person bought it based on this
And then
survey.
they can't. And so
So
so somebody can actually do that, and then you be messed up.
that goes to the next point I'm going to make. Never, I don't care who they are, never accept a survey from a seller. It was a hard lesson. right? Never. Always do your own due diligence. Or even if they give it to you, reach out to that company that did it. So if I gave you this and I say, hey, Mr. Bill Ecker did it, his stamp is on it, it's all good. Don't just take it because you're eager to buy the land. Oh, it's a nice piece of land. I'm going to buy it. Nah. You reach out to Mr. Eckert and you ask them to send you a copy of the survey they did so that you can verify what he actually did. Don't ever accept what they give you because people will edit their stuff out, man. They will edit the easement. They'll edit this. You'll never know. And you think you're good to go. Oh, I got a survey from the seller. It looks good. I'm going to build. Nah.
That's
And if you don't do,
crazy.
yeah, but it happened because it happened. And it is crazy. It happened. Because I ended up being the one that had to go and do the development of moving that pipe all around the house. You see, so it's crazy. So always keep that in mind. So these are the things you want to pay attention to. You want to pay attention to all of these things, and then we're gonna continue again next week. I know time is going. I don't want to take up too much of everybody's time, but just to recap real quick, when you get the survey, when you see the land that you want to buy, the first thing you're gonna do is you want to get a survey. This is a survey, and you want a survey with topography. Okay, you want a survey with with a topography and your setbacks. So when you get it, you can now assess it from a distance, and you don't have to be there now. You could be somewhere on the other side of the world, and if you get the survey, you can pretty much determine what it's looking like. As we go into the next sessions, we're going to determine what all of this means and how this affects how we build it and even what it ended up costing. Because as all of y'all said when I was asking the question, well, you should be able to build wherever you want. All y'all were right. All of you were right. However, there was these things, these mitigating circumstances that was here that we didn't look at. That's why I asked the question first and then came back to it. So now you know there's other things you have to look for, because just because you got a nice house that's going to fit in this box doesn't mean you can do it. These are other factors that may change that. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do, and y'all gonna do this when y'all start looking for a property to buy. You're gonna go through the same process. Okay, I'm gonna get a survey. Once you get the survey, you're gonna assess everything. You're gonna look for the property line so you know exactly how big your property line is. You're gonna look for your contour lines so you see whether you got a flat line, curving land, sloping land, maybe sloping to the back, maybe sloping down. If it's sloping down a whole lot like we have, you know that you got to deal with a basement. You know right off the bat, okay, I'm dealing with a basement. Now let's move to the next thing. Okay. And then you're going to look at your setbacks. So it tells you what your buildable area will be. And then most importantly, you're going to look for your easements. Always look for your easements. Because within those easements, also, you're going to look for floodplains. Because if your property is in a floodplain, and it was that survey will show you if you have floodplains, it will tell you floodplain, 100-year floodplain. The survey will show you all that. This house doesn't have one because it was fixed, but he still made a note of that. But there'll be some properties that you'll buy. It looks good, it's going for cheap, and you didn't realize you're sitting on the floodplain, and that becomes a problem. So these are the things you want to look for when you first
So if
start.
you had, say you had a house that was in the floodplain, is that fixable? If at a right price, is it fixable?
At the right price, it is, because two things. One, insurance company don't want to insure a property in the flood zone. They don't want to do that. But also remember, if there's a water issue over there, you have some setbacks, and you have some what did you call it? It's not the setback. You have some easements and buffers. You have to have a certain amount of buffer space from these wet areas. You can't build by them. If there's water, if there's a little creek running through here, you know, You got to be about,
Mhm.
some places let you do 25 feet away, some places 75 feet. Like what happened to me, 75 feet. It pushes your house way up here. So yeah, you got this huge area, but you probably can only build right here. You can only put 1,000 square foot house on this more than half acre land you got, all because you got easements and buffers and stuff. So you look for all these things. You look for floodplains, flood zones. You look for creeks. We don't have it here, but you look for those things, and then it will tell you where your setbacks needs to be. It will tell you what the buffer area needs to be from the creek, all those things. But to answer your question, yes, for the right price, you can fix some of it. Some people learn to fix um, wet areas or creeks and stuff by diverting it. I got a friend in Marietta that we did that with. You know, he had a lot of creek running right through his property. They allowed him to divert it and do an underground pipe using those corrugated pipes, and then he built a
Mhm.
culvert over it, and then he was able to have the water go underneath. So now that's part of his driveway. So when you walk,
And that takes them out of a floodplain, or does it leave them in the floodplain?
it it put it where he's able to build within that area because he diverted the water. Prior to that, water was just sitting on his land, so he couldn't really build anything. So it diverted the water that allowed him
Yeah,
now
but
to.
long as you can be able to divert the water, you kind of out of the floodplain.
If you're able to, and mind you, that has to still be approved by the zoning department. So just because you want to do it, don't mean they're going to let you do it. But the
Yeah.
answer is yes. If they allow you, you can do it, and that's what he ended up doing.
Right.
But as we go deeper into the subjects later on, you're going to find out what that also means when you start to build, because it comes with other implications as well, which could be quite expensive. Which in my friend's case, it was very expensive. I helped him to build that house, and the things you have to do is like building on a beach. you know, you got to come with some whole other stuff. So we'll get into all that later on as we dive deeper. But for now, I just wanted to make sure we go over the survey, and we'll recap probably for like 10 minutes next week on this part, and then we're going to shoot into talking about, you know, the next phase, which will be what we're going to do to clear the lot, how we're going to set up our silt fencing, and then eventually we're going to talk about the property that's going to go on the land, right? That'll be this. So we'll go over all of that, and then we'll discuss how the engineer, like Mr. Bill Eckert, is able to take this floor plan and create. So you see, you have your first floor, basement, first floor, second floor, basement plan. He takes this, and based on this, he's able to do this right here. So we'll discuss how he comes to doing all of that, how all that happens. So let me see what else we got here. We're going to talk about erosion control. We'll be sharing what some people are charging to do it. This is one quote from a company called Sol Tech. They're extremely reasonable because usually people charge a whole lot more. But they will come in there and they'll put up the silt fence. We talk about the different type of silt fences, all of that. All right. So that's a quote that we have for that one particular property. So we'll discuss more next week. Let me see here. All right. So I'm gonna do a recap of some notes when I send this this video out so we can discuss further next week. Like next week, I just want to go over briefly, more like a quiz to make sure that everybody, that you're fully grasp what we went through. And then after that, we're gonna dive into how we get into the next phase of the after you have the survey, what is the next step? Once you decided everything that you've seen, if you like it, what is the next step? How do you decide to move forward? And how do we get from survey to site plan and then eventually to building? And then we're gonna
Um,
discuss what's been happening. Um, any questions? Eric, you got a
yeah,
question?
one question. all these surveys are still the same surveys from the plans from last year, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know
Yeah,
you said the
question.
late. I know last week you said the lady made a lot of changes, but we still running on the same same setup from the
Yes.
bills.
So let me explain that. The client, the buyer. So this property already has a buyer. The buyer for this property wanted to make some changes. The changes that she's making is not affecting the footprint of the house. So because of that, I was able to get started on it. If it was going to change the footprint of the house, I can only get started up to a certain point. Like where we are right now with it, the videos I've been sending, the grading and all that, all the dirt we have to bring in, all that
Hmm.
plays a role in what we saw in the survey. It was something that I actually didn't even pay much attention to till we started clearing and grading, and then we realized, oh wait a minute, because I thought I could do something with the basement a little differently, and it turned out when I looked at it, it's like no, we got to build this basement up to a proper level where we can build on. So we would discuss all that, you know. But to answer your question, the plans are still good. The footprint of the house doesn't change. And it is the footprint of the house that they're going to use to do the site plan. So DeKalb County is very good when it comes to this. They really don't care what you do in your house. They could care less. What they do care about is the footprint of your house needs to be intact. If we're gonna do anything that's gonna change the footprint, we gotta submit it right back through. So long as we get everything done with the foundation and we're set, all we're gonna do is make the changes that she wants, which affects the structure itself, interior. We make those changes, and then we, you know, it doesn't stop anything. We just keep rocking and rolling.
Everybody should have their stuff from last year. And what's the new guy name? Sosa.
Also,
Yeah, Sosa.
He has those plans too.
So the plans, I'm giving them as we go. So, for instance, I don't know if everybody has their plans from last year either. you know,
yeah,
I still
so
got mine. So I did the big printout, so I still got mine.
okay, but remember, the plans that we did last year were for the houses across the street. We touched on the basement at one point of the
Nah,
program,
it was for three properties, and the basement lot was one of them.
right? But we didn't go too far into the basement because we weren't building it. So we discussed it because we talked about the basement. We talked about some of the stuff we're talking about now. We discussed it in last
When I
session.
get when I get back home, I'm gonna double check. I'm gonna let you know.
Yeah, double check.
'Cause
But
I,
but we're
I, I
giving
print I
everything
print out a
fresh.
lot.
But we're doing everything
I,
fresh. And once we
okay.
change the plans, once the lady edits the plans the way she wants it to be, I'm gonna give out the
Mm-hmm.
new plans of the house.
All right.
But the footprint is still gonna be the same. You know, so what we discussed last year when we did the concrete, when we did all that stuff, and we were on point with our measurements, and I was proud of y'all for that. And then you was there on the site to see it. You know, we really we made some good we
Yeah.
laid some good groundwork.
Me and Fode watched that process.
Yeah,
Um, for the other house.
and we were right on
So
point with our measurements, right on point,
yeah.
down to the last truck. So with this basement, it's gonna be different, but you're gonna learn how to calculate it too, because now we're gonna have an entire poured wall for the basement foundation. You know, before we get, so we're gonna have footings, we're gonna have pour walls, we're gonna have step down walls, we're gonna have our slab. You know, and then after that, we got the framing package we're gonna do. So we're gonna be doing this step by step by step all the way to the end, including the budget course. And we're gonna discuss the budget, how we came up with a budget to go with a lender to get approved to build, and we're gonna look at our actual course. One thing I didn't want to happen is um, I didn't want our group to look at building houses based on discounts and all kinds of stuff. You know, I want it to be what it truly is, because outside of me, I don't know if you're gonna get certain things that you would get. Now, of course, you in this program, you building with me. My numbers are your numbers. You know, you get it through me. You get my discount, all the stuff that I have going on. You get all that. You know, but also we have to be realistic to say that. Look, is it fair for somebody to charge you X amount of dollars for this? Yes, it is. But we get it for this because we've been doing it so long and we have good relationships with our vendors. You know, so all those things we're gonna just have there. So by the time we finish building this house, we know exactly what every penny costs. We know what everything, not every penny, but we know what every item costs us. We know where we maybe overspent some things, and we know where we made some savings. And we do the things that we can do to make some savings. This is all part of the course that we discuss. There's many things that come along with it. We talk about insurances. We talk about all kinds of things that we're going to do on this session. So by the time this project is done, y'all know how to do it from beginning to end by yourselves. Y'all know what it should cost you, and you should be good to go. But we're going to be also doing other projects because I have several other projects that's going to be coming in, and I'm going to be sharing that with y'all. We're going to discuss some of the properties that are built on septic tanks, some of the stuff that we're building in the mountains, the challenges that come with it. I'll discuss some of the stuff that happened with my guy who had to divert water from his land and what it cost him to actually get the build done. So we're going to discuss a lot of things. So like I said, we got 6 months of this. We're going to tackle everything. But yeah, so that's good stuff you brought up. But yeah, so Sosa is going to be getting everything. Right now, we're working with this phase of the survey. Then we're going to do the site plan. Then once we get all that done, then we're going to jump into the building. But right now, we're still developing the land. We're still building it up. We're about to do compaction tests. I'm going to be sending that on. And I'm thinking, I don't know how much storage people have, but after doing so many houses, WhatsApp might get a little bit tied up. So I'm thinking of doing something more where I just put everything on YouTube and then send it to the group. And then that way you can just click a link and watch it, instead of getting a lot of the downloads and stuff eating up your data. So I think I'm going to go that route with it too. And then, you can just click on it and look at it. Probably do some live sessions too, for us, just for the sake of data. That's why I'm looking at it that way. So I'm gonna work on setting that up. But look, it's Monday Night Football, ain't it? I don't know if so. What's that? You have any questions? Or you okay
yeah,
for now?
yeah.
I have a
Well,
question.
Oh, 1 second, Elisa. Let me see. Sosa say he has a question. Go ahead, Sosa.
yeah. So since I'm the new guy, probably, so I'm trying to get more familiar with the terms of the survey. So will you forward that survey to us to understand more of the terms, or?
Actually, I thought I sent you that survey. I didn't send it to you.
I'm not sure. I don't know if
Okay.
I don't know
I'll
if, but
check your WhatsApp. I will resend
okay.
it. And if you
Okay,
want me to
okay.
do it on email, I can send it to your email also. If you prefer email, I'll send it to your email.
No,
But if you
no,
want
no. WhatsApp is fine.
WhatsApp is fine. Okay, I'll resend it to you after the session is over. Okay,
All right, thank
you
you.
can look it over and we could go from there. And yes, I'm plugging in Bill. Like I said, he's good. He's a good person. We'll discuss more next week with a recap because I'm also going to tell you some of the numbers that they come up with, like the 786, 772. It really doesn't matter. It could have been 106 and then 100 to show that it dropped 6 feet. It's just like those are just arbitrary numbers that they use. So it wasn't any real significant number. There was no real significance to that number. So the key is that you understand how it falls in relation to the street level. Okay, so if you see if you see something and you're like, hey, this ain't 700 something, this ain't 800, is this above sea level? Because that's what I was thinking. I said, does this mean we're
So
above
next,
sea level? You said, nah, it's not
so
quite.
so next week we gotta see how you came up with the number to level that land, like how you did, because I know you said in the video you were saying that some numbers changes. You see that you needed more dirt,
Yes.
and them numbers are on that survey, right?
So your
So
mentor was
we gotta
slipping.
know. We gotta know. We gotta know where those numbers are at, so we
Yeah.
can make sure we know.
Well, so your mentor was slipping, is what I'm saying, because it was on. We just went over it. So clearly, we're like 16 feet in the back and 14 feet. And so if I need to get into a 9-foot basement, the difference of that is what, 5 feet?
Yeah.
So really, if I sat down and if we had started this class a little bit earlier and I took my time to break it down, we would know that we need to bring that much dirt in there. Honestly.
And you can't get that. You can't take it from the front and bring it to the back, can you?
Hey, we had sound across the back there. So Elisa, go ahead, Elisa. What's your question?
Oh, I was just gonna ask. You said you had a buyer, so it's not Selma anymore. It's a new person.
No, Selma is the buyer.
Oh, okay, I just want to make sure. That's
Yeah.
all.
No, she's the buyer because she's the one that wants to make all those changes, which is cool with us.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You about to curse somebody out.
Nope, we're gonna get her house. It's been a long time, long time. So we're gonna give her a great product, and the good thing is this time around, this session, we're gonna have a lot of hands-on, and like with some of the different trades, I want them on site to be really showing us things. Like I want to break down why we're getting the electrical wires we're getting. Why do we need the yellow ones? Why do we need this wire, that wire? I want all that.
Well,
I want all that.
I can be available on the weekend. I'm good with hands on.
Yeah. We're
So
gonna try and make it work that way, E. And if not, we're gonna do straight footage, video, and then we're gonna discuss it. So you're not gonna miss anything. But I know you're on the road, man. I know you out there. So
no, I'm
it's
saying on the weekends. I mean, if you need some help, you know what I'm saying. I'm good with being hands on and you know what I'm saying, coming in and doing some work
we
because
all gonna be hands on. We're gonna be setting
you know
doors.
me. I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I kind of do a little bit of everything. I ain't scared of
Yeah.
nothing.
Oh nah, yeah. We're gonna get dirty, man. We're gonna get dirty this time. Boots and all, and at least they're gonna be setting doors.
Yeah. Tiling floors and
So
doing electrical work, everything.
somebody let us put on a couple of floors. Just right, Sosa? Maybe you show us how to do one or two of the floors, and
Yeah, it's easy.
easy piece of cake. So we'll get some hands on, man. It's gonna be fun. But you'll learn it too, and why we do
Yeah,
certain.
yeah, yeah. I like this class. Yeah, I'll learn a lot. I will do my best to
Oh, we're gonna be look,
understand everything.
after two of these things, after we finish this in 6 months and we do a few of the other builds. Yeah, like I said, we're gonna take it to another level. Y'all gonna be handling it, and then you'll see. All right, so that was your only question, Lisa. You're good.
That was it. Yeah.
All right, Fode, I know you're working, so thanks for tuning in. We'll catch y'all next week. And all right, that was great, guys. So we'll talk later.
All
All
right.
right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next week.
Thank you.